Have you ever thought about the quiet power of silence? In a world where noise often drowns out meaning, the ability to remain silent is both a rare skill and a profound strength. Silence is not weakness, it's a deliberate choice, a moment of control in a world driven by chaos. When everyone else feels compelled to speak, to argue, or to defend, silence can become your most powerful tool, a reflection of your inner strength and clarity. Imagine a moment when someone insults you, their words sharp and cutting. Your natural reaction might be to respond, to defend yourself, or even to retaliate. But what if instead you chose silence? Not out of avoidance, but out of control. In that moment, you aren't giving power to their words. You're maintaining your peace, showing that their attempt to provoke you has failed. This is the essence of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to focus on what we can control, to master our emotions, and to prioritize our inner tranquility. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us that it's not the insult itself that affects us, but how we react to it. Words are just sounds, meaningless unless we give them weight. By choosing silence, you deny the insult the power to disrupt your peace. Imagine walking away from a confrontation not with anger simmering inside you, but with a calm mind and a steady heart. That strength, that unshakable composure, is what silence offers. But silence isn't just about avoiding unnecessary arguments. It's about creating space to think, to reflect, and to choose your response wisely. Think about conflicts in your personal life, perhaps a disagreement with a loved one. In the heat of the moment, words spoken in anger often cause wounds that take much longer to heal. But choosing silence, taking a step back to breathe and process, allows the tension to subside. It's in this quiet pause that understanding and resolution can emerge. Silence also has the power to command respect. When you speak less but with purpose, your words carry greater weight. People listen because they know your silence isn't emptiness, it's thoughtfulness. Consider the most influential leaders or mentors you've encountered. Often, they aren't the ones who speak the most, but the ones who listen, who observe, and who contribute only when it truly matters. Their silence amplifies the impact of their words, turning them into tools of connection and wisdom. In a society where everyone is eager to share their opinions, where social media amplifies every voice, the discipline of remaining silent can feel counterintuitive. But it's precisely this restraint that makes silence so powerful. Not every situation demands a response. Not every opinion requires acknowledgement. When we hold back, we conserve our energy, protect our peace, and show the world that our value isn't tied to constant expression. Silence isn't about shutting down or withdrawing. It's about choosing when to engage. It's about listening deeply, both to others and to ourselves. When we are silent, we open the door to understanding. We hear not just words, but intentions, emotions, and truths that might otherwise be drowned out. In relationships, silence can be an act of love, showing someone that you value their voice, their perspective, their presence. Imagine sitting with a friend who's going through a difficult time. Instead of trying to fix their problems or fill the air with advice, you simply listen. In your silence, they find space to express themselves, to be heard without judgment. That silence isn't empty. It's filled with connection, empathy, and care. The power of silence extends to the decisions we make. In moments of uncertainty or pressure, the impulse to act quickly can be overwhelming. But Stoicism teaches us to pause, to allow silence to guide our thoughts. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often reflected on the importance of stepping back from the rush of life to regain clarity. Silence before making a critical decision isn't hesitation. It's wisdom. It's the recognition that time and thought lead to better outcomes than haste and impulse. Picture yourself facing a life-changing decision, perhaps a new job opportunity that seems enticing but comes with sacrifices. The natural reaction might be to say yes immediately, driven by excitement or fear of missing out. But what if you paused? What if you gave yourself the gift of silence to weigh the decision fully? In that quiet reflection, you could see the broader picture, consider your values, and choose with intention rather than urgency. Silence also teaches us about humility. Socrates famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." When we embrace silence, we acknowledge that we don't have all the answers. We create space for learning, for growth, for the wisdom of others to enrich our understanding. It's in this stillness that we find our greatest opportunities for development. Silence, then, is not an absence. It's a presence of mind, of self-control, of clarity. It's a tool for navigating life's challenges with grace and intention. It's a reminder that strength isn't about how loudly we speak, but how deeply we understand. As you move through your day, consider the moments where silence could serve you better than words. In conflicts, in decisions, in relationships, and in your personal growth, let silence be your guide. Let it remind you of the power you hold within and the peace that comes when you honor it. Imagine standing in the midst of a heated argument, voices rising, emotions flaring, and the air thick with tension. In such moments, it's almost instinctive to jump in, to defend yourself, to fight for your perspective. But what if instead you chose silence? What if, instead of reacting, you paused, took a breath, and allowed the storm to pass? This is not avoidance or weakness. It is mastery. It is the strength of a steady soul that chooses calm over chaos. Conflict is inevitable in life, whether it's a disagreement at work, a misunderstanding with a loved one, or a clash of opinions in a group. We often find ourselves caught in the heat of the moment. The Stoics understood that reacting impulsively in these situations rarely leads to resolution. Anger, they believed, is like a fire. It consumes not only the target, but also the person who ignites it. Instead of fueling the flames, Stoicism teaches us to step back, to remain silent, and to let reason guide our actions. Imagine a workplace scenario. A colleague harshly criticizes your idea during a meeting. Your first reaction might be to counterattack, to defend your position and prove them wrong. But what if you chose silence instead? By pausing, you give yourself the chance to listen to their words, to the underlying emotions, and to the broader context of the discussion. Perhaps their criticism stems from a misunderstanding or even frustration unrelated to you. Your silence allows you to observe and process, giving you the power to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. Psychologists have found that a brief moment of silence during conflict can significantly reduce the intensity of anger. This pause doesn't just calm the external situation, it also gives you time to center yourself. In those moments of stillness, you regain control over your emotions, preventing them from dictating your actions. You begin to see the situation more clearly, and clarity leads to better decisions. Think about how silence transforms relationships. In personal conflicts, arguments often escalate because both sides are more focused on defending themselves than understanding the other. But when one person chooses silence, it creates space for listening, for empathy, and for resolution. Imagine a couple in the middle of a heated argument. One partner pauses, chooses silence, and listens instead of reacting. That pause can diffuse the tension, allowing both sides to calm down and communicate more effectively. Silence in these moments is not passive. It is active. It's a deliberate choice to step out of the cycle of anger and into a place of reflection. It's about protecting your inner peace and prioritizing the relationship over the need to be right. It's about showing strength, not through words, but through restraint. The power of silence also extends to our ability to listen and learn. In a world where everyone seems eager to express their opinions, few take the time to truly listen. Yet, listening is one of the most valuable skills we can cultivate. When we remain silent and listen, we not only learn from others, but also deepen our understanding of ourselves. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Silence creates the space for humility, for growth, and for wisdom. Imagine sitting in a conversation where everyone is talking over one another, each person trying to make their point heard. It's chaotic, draining, and often unproductive. Now picture yourself choosing silence in that moment. Instead of adding to the noise, you listen deeply. You pay attention not just to the words, but to the emotions and intentions behind them. In doing so, you gain insights that others might miss. Your silence becomes a tool for understanding and connection. Listening with intention doesn't just enhance your relationships, it also enriches your own life. It allows you to see the world from different perspectives, to challenge your assumptions, and to grow as an individual. In many ways, silence is the foundation of wisdom. It's a reminder that sometimes the most profound answers come not from speaking, but from observing and reflecting. Silence also plays a crucial role in decision-making. Life is full of moments where we must choose a path forward, and the weight of those choices can be overwhelming. In these moments, the pressure to act quickly can cloud our judgment. But the Stoics teach us to embrace silence as a way to pause and reflect. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." Imagine being offered a job opportunity that promises higher pay, but requires significant sacrifices in your personal life. The excitement and pressure to decide immediately can be intense. But choosing silence, taking the time to step back, consider your values, and weigh the consequences, allows you to make a choice rooted in clarity and alignment with your priorities. Silence in decision-making is not inaction. It's the space where wisdom grows. In these moments of quiet reflection, you connect with what truly matters. You move away from the noise of external pressures and listen to your own inner voice. You begin to understand that silence is not about avoiding decisions, but about making them with intention and purpose. As you go through life, consider the moments where silence could serve you better than words. In conflicts, it can diffuse tension and create space for understanding. In conversations, it can deepen your connections and expand your knowledge. In decisions, it can guide you toward choices that align with your values. Silence is not the absence of action. It's the presence of thought, of restraint, and of wisdom. It's a quiet strength that allows you to navigate life with grace and intention. Picture yourself in a room full of people, each one eager to share their opinions, ideas, and thoughts, speaking over one another in an effort to be heard. In this cacophony, it's easy to feel the need to add your voice, to fill the air with words simply to prove your presence. But what if, instead of speaking, you chose silence? What if, in that moment, you allowed others to speak while you listened deeply and observed? That silence would not be emptiness, it would be power, clarity, and intention. The Stoics understood the profound impact of silence, particularly when there's nothing valuable to say. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, believed that our words should be deliberate and meaningful. He wrote, "Speech that does not improve silence is better left unsaid." These words remind us that silence is not just the absence of noise. It's an active choice to conserve energy, protect our peace, and contribute only when it truly matters. Think about how often people speak simply to fill a void. In meetings, casual conversations, or social gatherings, many rush to voice opinions or stories, even when their contributions add little value. This compulsion to speak can dilute the impact of words and even diminish respect. The wisest people, however, often speak the least, not because they lack insight, but because they understand the power of restraint. Their words carry weight precisely because they are rare and intentional. Consider the example of a great leader during a high-stakes meeting. While others might rush to dominate the conversation, this leader listens intently, weighing every word before speaking. When they finally do share their thoughts, the room falls silent, their words cutting through the noise with precision and purpose. This is the impact of speaking less but saying more. Silence in these moments amplifies the value of their voice. Silence also creates space for listening, a skill that has become increasingly rare in a world that encourages constant self-expression. Listening isn't merely hearing what others say, it's an act of engagement, of understanding, and of connection. When we are silent, we allow others to feel heard, which fosters trust and respect. More importantly, we open ourselves to learning, gaining perspectives we might otherwise miss. Imagine sitting with a friend who is sharing a deeply personal story. If you interrupt, offer advice too quickly, or try to relate it to your own experiences, you risk diminishing their moment. But if you remain silent, nodding, making eye contact and showing genuine interest, you create a space where they feel truly understood. That silence is not passive. It's a form of active empathy that strengthens your bond. Silence also offers us a chance to reflect on our inner world. In a culture that celebrates constant activity, the quiet moments of self-reflection are often overlooked. Yet, it's in these moments of stillness that we find clarity. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often wrote about the importance of looking inward. He used silence as a tool to examine his thoughts, actions, and motivations, ensuring they were aligned with his values. Imagine taking a few moments each day to sit in silence. No phones, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. At first it might feel uncomfortable, even unsettling as the noise of the mind begins to surface. But with time, that silence becomes a sanctuary. You start to hear the quiet wisdom of your inner voice, guiding you toward what truly matters. This practice of introspection, of listening to yourself, is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. In professional settings, silence can also be a strategic tool. In negotiations, for example, remaining silent after making a proposal often compels the other party to fill the void, revealing their priorities and thoughts. This isn't about manipulation, it's about understanding. By choosing silence, you gather information, create space for dialogue, and demonstrate confidence. Silence is equally powerful in the face of criticism. When someone critiques your work or actions, the impulse to defend yourself is strong, but reacting immediately can lead to arguments or statements you might later regret. Choosing silence, on the other hand, gives you time to process the feedback. It allows you to discern whether the criticism is constructive or baseless, and it prevents you from being swept up in emotional responses. Think about the last time someone criticized you. Did you react quickly, only to regret your words later? Now imagine if you had chosen silence instead. That pause would have given you the opportunity to reflect, to respond thoughtfully, or even to let the moment pass without engaging in unnecessary conflict. Silence, in these situations, protects your peace and shows self-control. In relationships, silence can also be a form of love. It's the patience to listen without interrupting, the strength to avoid saying something hurtful in the heat of the moment, and the humility to allow space for understanding. In arguments, silence creates a pause, a chance for emotions to settle and for clearer communication to emerge. It's not about avoiding difficult conversations, it's about approaching them with intention and care. Ultimately, silence is a discipline. It requires restraint, mindfulness, and a commitment to living with purpose. It's easy to speak, to react, to fill the air with noise. But choosing silence, choosing when and how to use your voice, demonstrates wisdom and strength. It's a reminder that not every situation requires your input, that sometimes the most profound statement is no statement at all. As you navigate your day, consider where silence could serve you better than words. In conversations, in conflicts, in decisions, pause and reflect before speaking. Ask yourself if your words will add value or simply add noise. In that pause, you'll find clarity, and in that clarity, you'll find power. Silence isn't emptiness, it's fullness, a moment of intention in a world of distraction. Let it be your strength, your wisdom, and your guide. Silence is often misunderstood in a world that thrives on noise. Some see it as avoidance, a sign of submission or passivity. But silence, when chosen with intention, is none of these things. It is a force, steady, unwavering, and deeply rooted in strength. The Stoics understood this well, recognizing silence not as a void, but as a space where clarity, wisdom, and purpose are cultivated. They knew that in silence we connect with our inner selves, our emotions, and the truths that guide us. It's in these quiet moments that we discover the power to navigate life with greater intention. Consider the role of silence in making decisions. Life presents us with countless choices, many of them significant and far-reaching. The pressure to decide quickly, whether it's a career opportunity, a financial investment, or a personal relationship, can be overwhelming. Yet Stoicism teaches us that silence, the act of pausing and reflecting, is essential before making any major decision. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." His words remind us to approach life deliberately, to give weight to our choices, and to act with purpose. Imagine standing at a crossroads, faced with a decision that could change the course of your life. Perhaps it's a job offer in another city, one that promises career advancement, but also requires leaving behind the comforts of home and the people you love. The excitement of such an opportunity might tempt you to say yes immediately, while the fear of change might push you toward a quick no. But what if, instead of reacting, you chose silence? What if you gave yourself the gift of time, not to avoid the decision, but to consider it with care? In that silence, you would weigh the pros and cons, reflect on your values, and envision the life you wish to create. You would connect with what truly matters to you, not just in the short term, but in the grander arc of your existence. That pause would transform the decision-making process, allowing you to act not from impulse, but from intention. Silence in this way becomes a tool for aligning your actions with your principles. Silence also plays a transformative role in relationships. Whether with family, friends, or colleagues, our interactions often become clouded by the need to speak, to prove a point, or to defend ourselves. But what if we approached these moments with more stillness? What if we listened more than we spoke, allowing silence to create space for understanding and connection? Imagine a tense conversation with a loved one, emotions running high and words coming fast. In these moments, it's easy to say something you don't mean, to let anger or frustration dictate your response. But choosing silence gives you a moment to breathe, to process, and to respond with kindness and clarity. Silence isn't about avoiding the conversation, It's about approaching it with the respect and thoughtfulness it deserves. In personal relationships, silence can also be an act of love. When someone shares their fears, hopes, or struggles with you, the most meaningful thing you can do is listen, not with the intent to reply or solve their problems, but simply to be present. Your silence in those moments says, "I hear you. I'm here for you." It's a powerful expression of care, one that deepens trust and strengthens bonds. In professional settings, silence can be equally impactful. During negotiations, for instance, remaining silent after making a proposal often compels the other party to fill the void, revealing their priorities and intentions. This isn't about manipulation, it's about understanding. Silence allows you to gather information, observe dynamics, and approach the situation with greater insight. It demonstrates confidence and composure, qualities that command respect. Silence is also a profound teacher, offering us the opportunity to listen, not just to others, but to ourselves. In the hustle of daily life, we often drown out our own inner voice with external noise. We fill every moment with activity, every pause with distraction, leaving little room for reflection. Yet, it's in those quiet moments that we connect with our true selves. Silence invites us to examine our thoughts, emotions, and desires with honesty and compassion. Think about the last time you sat in complete silence. Maybe it was during a walk in nature, a quiet morning before the world awoke, or a rare moment of stillness amidst a busy day. How did it feel? For many, silence can be uncomfortable at first, a stark contrast to the constant stimulation we're accustomed to. But as the discomfort fades, something remarkable happens. Clarity emerges. You begin to hear your inner voice, the one that knows your values, your dreams, and your truth. In that stillness, you find not just answers, but peace. The Stoics believed that this inner peace was the foundation of a meaningful life. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." True bravery, in the Stoic sense, is not about grand gestures or bold proclamations. It's about the courage to face yourself, to sit in silence and confront your thoughts without distraction or denial. It's about the bravery to act in accordance with your principles, even when the world around you is noisy and chaotic. Silence also teaches us humility. In choosing to listen rather than speak, we acknowledge that we don't have all the answers, that others have wisdom to share, and that there is always more to learn. This humility is a hallmark of true strength. It's not about diminishing yourself, it's about recognizing the richness of the world around you and your place within it. In a culture that often equates speaking with power, silence is a quiet rebellion. It's a reminder that strength isn't measured by the volume of your voice, but by the depth of your character. When you choose silence, you choose self-control, patience, and thoughtfulness. You show the world that your worth isn't tied to constant expression, that your value lies in your actions and intentions. As you move through life, let silence be your guide. Use it to create space in moments of conflict, to reflect before making decisions, and to connect deeply with yourself and others. Embrace silence as a tool for growth, a sanctuary for your mind, and a bridge to understanding. Let it remind you that in a world full of noise, the most powerful statement is sometimes no statement at all. Silence isn't just the absence of words. It's the presence of wisdom, strength, and purpose. It's a choice to act with intention, to live with clarity, and to honor what truly matters. When you master the art of silence, you don't just change the way you communicate, you transform the way you live. Let silence be your strength, your anchor, and your path to a deeper, more meaningful existence. In its stillness, you'll find the courage to face life's challenges, the clarity to make wise decisions, and the peace that comes from living in alignment with your truest self.